In this video, I'm going to be answering the question, which chord scales should you use over basic blues? And no, I'm not talking about blues or pentatonic scales. Hey, Donna here from DonnaSchwartzMusic.com, the site to boost your music, performance, and improvisation skills up to the next level. And for the best practical music performance and improvisation tips that you can use, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you know when I publish a new video each and every week. In a previous video, I went over how to spell chords and the biggest mistake most people make when spelling chords, and I use blues as an example. If you haven't checked out that video yet, definitely check the link below in the description, and please watch that after you watch this video. So after my last video, I've gotten hundreds of questions, comments, people thanking me because they really were confused. They were making that one mistake that I referred to in the video. But some of the questions, the new questions that they had were this. All right, well, now I know how to spell the chords, but I'm getting a little bored just playing chord tones. Aren't there scales? What scales can I play along with blues that are not the blues scale or the pentatonic scale? That's what I want to cover in this video. I'm going to keep this really practical for you, all right? And I'm going to give you a basic rule that you'll be able to follow, I'm going to say most of the time. So if we're dealing with blues in major, let's say blues in F, concert F, so that would be my G, that would be alto D, okay? And there's three chords, okay? There's a G7 chord, there's a C7 chord, there's a D7 chord. In the last video, I talked about, spelling those chords. But we know that those chords are dominant seventh chords. And we know that blues is filled with tension because the 5-7 chord is something that is supposed to resolve. In Western music, the 5-7 chord is the chord of tension. That needs to go somewhere, okay? And the problem is, in a blues, there's only 5-7 chords in a basic blues. And they're not resolving except maybe for the very last chord, but even on that, everybody plays like a million notes, so nothing's really resolved. So since it's only one type of chord, a dominant seventh chord, really simple, follow this basic rule. You're going to play a Mixolydian scale over each of those chords. Mixolydian mode? I can't even say it, let alone spell it. All right, Mixolydian mode is one of the modes formed from a major scale. If you've ever played an exercise like this, if you've had formal training or if you've used method books like the Rubank method books or the Rubank series of method books, you've probably played that exercise a whole bunch of times. You maybe just didn't realize what you were playing, which is a good thing because what you just did, or actually what I just did, was play through all the modes of a major scale. So what does that mean? All right, so I played a concert C scale, and first I started off on concert C and I went up the scale and down. We call that the Ionian mode. No one calls that anymore, all right? But it's the Ionian mode. When I played that same scale, same key, I should say, same key, but I started the scale on the second degree, same key, went up and down, that's the Dorian mode. When I played that same key, but I started on the third degree of the original scale, concert C, so that would be concert E, and then I played a scale from there. It sounded like this. When I played a scale starting on the fourth degree, okay, which is, we call that the Lydian mode, all right, that would be concert F. It sounded like this. And when I played a scale on the 5th degree of that concert C scale, so C, D, E, F, concert G, all right, this is the Mixolydian mode. It sounds like a major scale that you may have played wrong many times before you figured out the right key signature for the major scale. Well, that Mixolydian mode is really super important. It's used often in jazz, in improvisation. In fact, here's a basic rule I'm going to tell you. Again, when you see a dominant 7th chord, okay, it's usually a 5-7 chord. 5, 5th degree. Okay, so think Mixolydian scale. Example, if I'm in concert C and I see a G7, which is pretty common in concert C, right? That's a 5-7. I'm going to play a G Mixolydian scale, meaning that, okay, I'm going to start my lowest note, my highest note is going to be G. That's the 5th degree, but I'm going to take the key signature from the key of C, 5 notes lower, okay, which is something that I just played. So Mixolydian, 5th, the scale or the mode that's formed from the 5th scale degree of a major scale. And so in a basic blues, that would be your scale choice. Or I should say, one of the things that you could do, all right? But it would be Mixolydian scales. So let's say I'm in concert F blues. My first scale, my first chord's going to say F7. So I would do an F Mixolydian scale, concert F, sounding like this. The next chord that I would see would be a B flat 7, a 4-7. Okay. Again, even though here's where the questions are going to come. Even though it's the 4 chord and it's a 4-7, you still treat it like a dominant chord in terms of figuring out which chord scale to play. So concert B flat 7, I'm going to think, okay, I'm going to go down 5 steps to get my key signature, B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat, and then I'm going to play that scale, start on the concert B flat, but follow the key signature of the note that's 5 notes down, like this. The last chord in a basic blues is, well, it is the 5-7. Okay, so in concert F, the 5-7 is C7. All right, good. So I'm going to do I'm going to do a C Mixolydian scale, which means C scale, but I'm taking the key signature of the note that's 5 notes lower. C, B flat, A, G, F. C scale using the key signature of F. Now let me know in the comments, does this make sense so far? Just type the word sense. Now there is another way to figure out how to play a Mixolydian scale. You could follow a formula, okay? And starting from the root note, so let's say we have concert C7, okay? And Donna just said I could play a Mixolydian scale. Cool, okay, the formula is this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, back to the 1. So if it's concert C7, C is the 1, D is the 2, E is the 3, F, G, A, B flat, not B natural, B flat, and then C. Okay, again, sounding like this. Okay, so your next question may be, awesome, now I know which chord scales I can play. What do I do with them? All right, well, just like when you were focusing on chord tones, you don't need to play every single pitch of a chord or every single pitch in a chord scale. You can pick and choose. If you play too many notes, it can be a little overwhelming. If you play too little notes, it may be a little basic. It could be a good way to start off a solo, though, especially if you're very rhythmic with it. But what you can do is pick the tones that sound best with the chord that you're playing over. So for example, getting back to the F blues, okay, so that my first chord would be, for me, on tenor, would be G7. All right, so I could play all the notes of that scale, but like I just said, that would be a little too much. So what I would want to do is make sure that I'm emphasizing the chord tones, but I can use the other notes of the chord scale to kind of bridge the gap, to kind of, bridge the gap between the chord tones, and also maybe bridge the gap to get to that next chord, which is going to be the 4 chord, okay, which is going to be my C7. Let me, without any music, let me show you what I'm talking about. Really basic example there, but look at it as an exercise. Okay, so here's your little assignment here. You're going to take a basic blues, find a backing track, and first practice each mixolydian mode for each chord, and then incorporate using those note choices and try to connect between the chord tones of each individual chord and then connecting to the next chords. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so recap. So we didn't talk at all about a blues scale or pentatonic scale. Instead, we just addressed the chord scale type that you can use for a basic blues. And again, a basic blues is, some people call it a 1-4-5 blues, just 3 chords, the 1-7, the 4-7, and the 5-7. And when you have those dominant 7th chords, even though I'm saying 1-7, 4-7, and 5-7, they act like dominant chords. You can use a mixolydian mode. And I showed you how to figure that out, how to come up with it, how to practice it, and then how to apply it to playing over a basic blues track. I'm going to strongly suggest that you find a slow backing track to start off with, so this way you're not overwhelmed with fast tempos. So did you like this video? Give it a like and tap that subscribe bell so that you know when more of my videos come out each and every week. Hey, thanks so much for joining me. On that note, take care. Have a great day.